greatest crime against humanity.
Was slavery a crime against humanity? And the United States refused to say yes. On March 25th, 2026, the United Nations voted on a resolution recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as one of the gravest crimes in human history. 123 countries voted yes. Only 3 voted no. The United States, Israel, and Argentina. And 52 countries stayed neutral, including the United Kingdom and most of Europe. Now here's what makes this moment so unsettling. This vote didn't create laws. It didn't force reparations. It didn't punish any nation. All it asked was acknowledgement. A simple statement recognizing the scale, brutality, and lasting damage of slavery. Millions taken, families erased, legacies still shaping lives today. Think about that. If it costs nothing to acknowledge the truth, why refuse to say the words? What do you think was the real reason the United States refused to vote yes, when it costs nothing to acknowledge the truth? Comment truth if history deserves acknowledgement, not silence. Follow for more untaught truths shaping the world right now. The world.
All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rikakwadash. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and double honors to the elders at Great Millstone. This lesson is entitled, The Transatlantic Slave Trade, the Greatest Crime Against Humanity. Okay? So, the question was asked at the end of the video, why wouldn't they admit to this as being the crime against humanity? It was a vote of 120. Okay. They got 120 votes, and was like they said America, okay, the United States, Israel, and Argentina. They were the only ones to disagree, and they had, I think they said they had 50 neutral states or something, like they remain neutral. But anyway, what is the reason why they would not admit to this? Okay, the United States and Israel. Okay, all right. And the simple answer is spiritual. Okay, all right. First of all, the rulership and dominion that they established. They established a rulership and dominion. Okay, it was the will of the Most High to have them set up. Okay, all right, to rule over Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, this is all written in the scriptures. All right, so they were able to establish dominion in the earth. Okay, the whole entire planet. And as you can see, according to ChatGPT, the main primary beneficiaries were the so-called white man. Okay, that's the truth. Just as the Bible stated that Esau would gain dominion after breaking the yoke off of his brother's neck. Okay, this actually happened. All right. So let's get into it a little bit. Let me first of all, let's go to we'll go straight to Genesis chapter 27 and 38. No, we'll read Revelation first. Okay. No, we'll read 27:38 first. Salakia. Genesis chapter 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live. This is the point. All right. And shall serve thy brother Jacob, okay, which was so-called Negro, okay, all right. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay? So when they achieved the dominion, they ruled the world, the entire planet. You understand? All right? So the European powers, they are the Edomites of the Holy Bible. All right? There were two different manner of people that came out of Rebecca. There were two twin boys. All right? When you go to Genesis chapter 25, we'll go ahead and read it. Genesis chapter 25, all right, 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. Okay, so for all of you all who do not understand how this took place, how the so-called white man could be born through 2 Negro people, all right? The Lord had this to happen to fulfill prophecy, all right? They would be future rulers in the earth, okay? These two nations, right? Verse 23 again. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people. See, 2 different. All right, the so-called white man is different from the so-called Negro in manner, in and the way they behave and so forth, everything, right? And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. The elder shall serve the younger. All right. So, if you don't already know, the so-called Negro was ruling all over the planet. Okay. And he was definitely ruling over there in Europe way before the so-called white man. All right. Okay. They rose into power as the Greeks. They were ruling for thousands of years, hundreds of years, okay, as the Greeks and the Romans. All right, they fell, all right, in 100 AD, somewhere around there, and Jacob started slowly getting in there, okay. All right, the so-called Negro started ruling in there, and eventually they gained the dominion in the Roman Empire and in Europe, okay? So it wasn't until the bubonic plague came and took out a lot of Jake, and they started conquering the Negroes. And you can read about the them taking down the Moorish kingdom, all right? So that was a time when Jacob was in rule, okay? So you have to understand that. So the reason why I'm just trying to get you the spiritual context on this, all right? So they were given the gift of the sword in the earth, all right? Let's go there. Okay, it was 2 manner. I had stopped at first. Let's finish off here at Genesis 25 and 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red. That's the so-called white man, okay? He's red. He's not white, okay? All over like an hairy garment, and they call his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold onto Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And this was a prophecy that Jacob took hold of Esau's heel, his older brother, because he would take him down, okay, out of rulership, all right? And this will finally be done by Yahushua, okay, all right, in 144,000. They're going to take down Esau out of rulership, all right? So you have to understand the 2 boys had dominion in the earth, right? Okay, so let's go to Revelation chapter 20. Okay. No, let's go to Genesis chapter 38. Salakia, forgive me. Genesis chapter 27 and 38. And this tells you the dominion of them. That he would get the dominion after defeating and taking down Jacob out of rule. And that's what happened during the 1300s over there in Europe. They took down the Jews, the so-called tribe of Judah, all right, out of rulership over there in Europe. They took them down and they started putting them in slavery, all right, over there. That's why a lot of Negroes are in Jamaica, Haiti, the islands, and of course over here in America, Brazil, okay, and so forth. They gained a dominion. They got free labor. You have to understand, 200 years of free labor will make you multi-rich. So they gained a dominion through the force of the sword. Okay, so here, Genesis chapter 27 and 38, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? This was the blessing of the two boys. Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept, because Jacob had supplanted him and disguised himself as the firstborn Esau, his big brother. And he took the birthright from him, okay, because his father blessed him with everything. All right. Okay. So he was asking for a blessing for himself right here. Verse 39. And Isaac, his father, answered, that's Genesis 27:39. Father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shall serve thy brother, Okay, so they served the brother over there during the dark ages after the Roman Empire fell. Okay, they were serving Jacob, all right, during dark ages. But they rose back into power and took them down, okay, out of rulership. You have to understand that. The so-called Negro that was ruling in Europe, okay. So, and by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, the rulership, you get what I'm saying, of the earth, okay, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck, okay, and that's what happened, okay. All right, when we go to Revelation chapter 20, so that's the answer. That's the first answer, all right, that they would establish generational wealth, all right, by taking down Jacob, their twin brother. Okay, these European powers you see in front of you, they did this. So-called white man, they did this. The United Kingdom, Portugal, Spain, and France. Okay, Netherlands. Okay, and the Denmark, and I think that's it. You have to understand that all of those were Edomite nations. All right, they were so-called white man. All right, Edomite according to the Bible. All right, so-called Negro was established to be an Israelite. Okay, they're Edomites. Okay, the so-called white man. Right. So that's one of the main reasons. Okay, that's the first main reason. Okay, that they would gain dominion of the whole earth and rulership and dominion. All right, and it was prophesied to happen. Okay, all right. Now, the second reason, but I won't go into the second reason. Yeah, let's stick with the scriptures a little bit more. Okay. As a matter of fact, let me. I'll just go straight to the scriptures here this time. All right. Okay. Bear with me. All right. We'll go to Revelation chapter 20. That explains this what happened. What I just spoke to you. Okay. Genesis chapter 20 and verse 1. All right. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold onto the dragon. The dragon is the Roman Empire, the empire of the Edomite, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Okay, so for 1,000 years, Jacob was in rule over there in Europe. You understand? If you can understand that. The bottomless pit was Europe. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up. Okay, the Lord is the one who did this, who shut up Esau, Edom, after they fell in the, I guess it would be the the Western Roman Empire. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, they fell. Okay, and went into the Dark Ages. Okay. All right. And cast him in the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And this is the so-called white man, the Edomites. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. All right. So in the 1300s, the Lord let them loose. They came forth and started conquering the castles and all of that Jake was ruling in. All right. Okay. And the Lord was said that he would rule for a little season. Okay. And we're in that little season now. As you can see, America, Babylon, the Great is fallen. All right. When we go down here to 7, verse 7. All right. The scripture, the prophecy jumps. And it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired. Okay. When the 1,000 years are expired. Okay. After the 1,000-year period of rulership of Jacob in Europe, Satan shall be loosed out of prison. Okay, that would be the empire of the Edomites. Okay, the so-called white man, and shall go out. This is what they would do when they got, the Lord removed that seal off of them, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. Okay. And that's basically what you need to understand. Okay. And so they were able to go. How did they do that? They came over here they conquered their twin brother, Jacob, and put him in servitude in Europe. And then they came over here to the Americas and put their twin brother in slavery over here in the Americas. So they conquered all of Europe, so all of the tribe of Judah was put into captivity and slavery. Then when they came over here to the Americas, the tribe of Judah was in the Americas as well, plus the so-called other Native American tribes. Okay. So he put them, so the northern and southern kingdom of Israel were all put in servitude, in slavery, all right, and put to death, a lot of them, okay? So that's how they able to establish what they have. You got to understand, it's like in the trillions of dollars, all right, because you got to understand all them years of slavery and chattel slavery and getting free labor, off of tobacco, cotton, and sugar plantations. All right. So hopefully you got the understanding of that. And the Lord blessed them with the gift of the sword of war. Okay. Of warfare. All right. Okay. And that's how they were able to do it. Okay. They have the gift of warfare. Even to this very day, they just named the Pentagon, the Department of War, right? Through Pete Hegseth. They did that as soon as they got in power. Because that's who they are. They specialize in war. The Lord put that gift in Esau, the children of Esau, Edom. You have to understand that. All right? So they go forth and they conquer. They conquered, the rhyme. In 1492, they sailed the ocean blue. And that's when they conquered the Native Americans and the so-called Negroes that were in America. All right, the American Indians. All right, then, all right, and in Europe, they conquered the tribe of Judah in Europe And they went to West Africa, and they took the tribe of Judah from the west coast of Africa. All right. All right. They bought them and put them in slavery. You have to understand that. So the slavery was big business. They made trillions of dollars. So that answers the first question. All right. Why, why wouldn't they come forward and say that it was the greatest crime of all time? Because they benefited from it. The rulership, dominion. All right. This was huge. The Lord allowed this to happen because of the nation of Israel. Their forefathers served other gods. Okay. King Solomon. All right. 35. They had 35 kings to sit the throne. I think 35. I think that's what it was. Only 7 of them kept the commandments of the Lord and done righteously. So the Lord could do nothing but punish the whole nation of Israel. All right. All the so-called Negroes, Native Americans, and Hispanics. All right. So that's the main one. And so hopefully you understand that, from Genesis and Revelation. All right. All right. These people, first of all, are the wicked. You need to understand that. They are the wicked. All right. The Lord created them. All right. We go to Job 9:24 to be the wicked. Job 9:24. 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? All right. So Job was trying to get you to look and see who the wicked is. All right. This is a prophecy. Okay. This is, prophetic. So the wicked would be the Edomites. All right. They would be ruling the earth at the end of the age. They're ruling now. You understand? All right. Okay. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right. It's been given into their hand. Okay. All right. So hopefully you get that. Malachi. And they covered the faces of the judges. They didn't tell you that in high school that it was Negroes ruling in Europe, did they? So they deceived you. So they're also the deceiver. And plus they brought forth white Jesus, in which they knew that it was a Negro that was the Savior. All right. And they continue to deceive constantly. All right. They deceived the Native Americans. They broke countless treaties, so forth. All right. To this very day. All right. What did they do to the Iranians? They told them, hey, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on this, getting an agreement made up, and then they bombed them while they were making the agreement. That's Esau, Edom. That's what they do. Okay? Malachi 1:1. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and I laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Because that's the future prophecy that's going to happen in Babylon the Great. Mainly. Okay, this place is going to be a wilderness. Okay, because it's going to be totally destroyed by thermonuclear missiles. All right, and chariot fire from the Savior. Verse 4, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them, this is the point, the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord has indignation forever. So they are the wicked of Job 9:24. All right. Okay. I just thought I would bring that out. Okay. So they didn't want to reveal it. Okay. The other reason they didn't want to reveal it, that this was the greatest atrocity, is they would be pretty much I'll just say it like this: the world would question the 6 million lost in Germany. If you're with me here, okay? The world would question the 6 million that were lost in Germany. You understand? They were able to establish themselves as the people of the Lord, okay, in 1948. All right? Okay, over there in the land, right? All right? Over there in Israel. All right? So the world would question if they said that was the greatest crime against humanity. They've already said that. They've already said that theirs was the greatest crime in humanity. You understand? Okay? So what happened to the people in Germany, right? So that's the reason. Okay? But the Bible tells us that answers that question. All right? Daniel chapter 9:11 tells us, yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us. All right? That's what happened to the children of Israel. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. And he has confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. Okay? Transatlantic slave trade, the Babylonians taking them down, all these nations ruling over the children of Israel. For under the whole heaven, okay, transatlantic slave trade, think about it. For under the whole heaven has not been done as has been done upon Jerusalem, the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me read that again. For under the whole heaven has not been done as has been done upon Jerusalem. All right? Okay? So the greatest crime was against the children of Israel, was against the so-called Negro. Okay? All right? Okay, so the Israelites. All right? And now you know the reasons. Why? That's the two reasons. All right? Is because they established a dominion and rulership in the earth. They wouldn't give that up. That was generational wealth. All right? Okay, and then the second one is they would question people around the world. They're already doing that, questioning, whether these are the people or not, of the Bible. All right? And mainly they would question, if they came forward with this and agreed, they would say, well, what about, they're going to say, what about, you told us that, the 6 million lost in Germany, that was the greatest a crime against humanity. So you see that? But there's no comparison. All right. Just like the scripture says in Daniel chapter 9, verse 12 here. There's no comparison. 200 million. We're looking at 200 million lost. Okay. Somewhere around there. It was a great loss in the transatlantic slave trade. People were dying. I mean, they show you in the movies. They was killing people for walking on the wrong side of the street. So, I mean, yeah, way worse. Okay. All right. So hopefully that answered your question. All right. Let me read a few more though. Let's see here. We'll read Deuteronomy 28 and 48. This is what happened to the nation of Israel. All right. Which makes it kind of plain. And it reads 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger. Okay, we had to rely on them for food, hunger and for food, and in thirst for water, and in nakedness for clothing. We had to rely on for all things. All right, when we brought here, forefathers were brought here, the Negroes were brought here in servitude, right, in slavery. And in one of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. And this has not ended, okay? We have not been restored. We still rely on them for everything, okay? And when we drop down here to 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, that is America, and all the areas that he scattered us into. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, no man shall redeem you. All right, so that pretty much solidifies the fact that yes, we were put into slavery, okay, by the so-called white man. All right, when we go to Baruch 4 and 6, all right, it speaks more on it. Baruch 4 and 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. So Baruch even spoke about us going into slavery. You see what I'm saying? Sold to the nations. All right. All right. So I thought I would go through that. All right. Here, let's read Isaiah 47:6. Isaiah 47:6 real quick. All right. This is what Yahweh Shai is saying. I mean, Yahweh Shai. Why Yahweh Shai? I was wroth with my people. Okay, the Lord was wroth with his people for sinning and turning to idol worship. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. You see, we were given into the Edomites' hand, were we not? Thou didst show them no mercy. There was no mercy shown. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. So this happened. It was the greatest crime ever in history. But it was the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, who caused it to happen. All right? But the Lord is going to deliver his elect from out of the hands of their enemies. Okay? That's the reason why Yahweh Shai was sent. Okay? To deliver his people out of bondage. Okay? All right? Just as he did, all right, with the Egyptians and the Pharaoh there. All right? The angels were sent and they were delivered. The people were delivered out of the hands of that Pharaoh. And that's the reason why World War III is going to be fought. And it's going to deliver the Israelites out of the hand of the Edomites. All right, the devil. Okay? Shalom.